It is Wednesday evening, and you know what that means. It's time for another Auburn Family Night. This is our live stream call-in show where we talk about anything and everything Auburn. You pick the topics because it's all about you, your calls, your questions, your comments. Let's get into it right now. War Eagle Auburn family, War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay, whether you're watching on Facebook, here, home base of YouTube, all the other places, times, multiverses, if that's what you're into these days, that you can get this show. We appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, spending some time being a part of our little family within the Auburn family. On this stream, we are talking about you, the Auburn family, what you want to talk about, what you want to discuss. There are plenty of topics on the table that you might want to hit. A little bit of transfer portal, a little bit of bowl games, NCAA football, controversial topics such as playoff committee stuff, what the format's going to be in the future, NIL. Listen, we can get into all of it. And that we haven't even talked about basketball type of topics yet as well either. All of that's on the table. And of course, we would love to hear from you. Your calls tonight. It is open right now. If you would like to call into the show, you can start lining up and we'll get you in as soon as we can. You can utilize the call-in link at the top of the chat. Well, this way, I guess, on YouTube. If you're on Facebook or some other format, you will not be able to access that link unless you come to YouTube. It's pinned up there at the top. Let me know if you guys can't see it up there on YouTube. It should be pinned up there right now. And if you're watching on the replay, obviously you can't call in because we're not there. You were watching the replay. But despite all of that, there is plenty to discuss. We'd love for you to start the show. Smash the like button if you can. Huge help in terms of helping us grow our little family within the Auburn family. And we'd love for you to start off the chat if you're watching live, especially by posting where you're watching from, your city, your state, your state. And if you're international, you can do that as well with a War Eagle. As I started off the show by saying, we talk about what you want to discuss, but I obviously like to kind of give my take on a few things before we start getting some of your commentary into the show. I will start off by saying this, folks. Cliff Ellis has retired from college basketball. Now you're asking, Kyle, why does that matter? He's not even, for those of you that don't know, Cliff Ellis was a former basketball coach, head basketball coach for us, been decades now. He is the one that I grew up with, going to games, going to camps, watching, listening on the radio. He was, you call him your head coach that you grew up with. That Cliff Ellis, Tommy Tuberville, those were my head coaches of the major sports for me at the time. He has been for a while now the head coach at Coastal Carolina after his time in Auburn was done. And after some successful years there and puts together still some formidable teams there, he is now retiring. So what's more significant, you're still like, well, okay, he's part of Auburn's history. What does that matter? There's other coaches that have been part of Auburn's history. We don't really spend a lot of time on them. He is and was just passed by Bruce Pearl on the all-time wins for basketball head coaches. Joe Leaves is at the top. Bruce Pearl is now second and will probably catch Joe Leaves this year, if I did my math correctly, if he gets the wins he should. And then Cliff Ellis is just behind him. So we want to give a congratulations to one of the legendary coaches for Auburn basketball, Cliff Ellis, on his retirement, and we will miss seeing him as part of the college basketball landscape on a yearly basis. For me, it is a bit of you continue to watch your childhood disappear. This is another one of those things that you just kind of go, I'm getting old. So I don't know if anybody else out there that resonates with you. If you remember watching Cliff Ellis games, being part of Cliff Dwellers, if you were at Auburn at that time. But yeah, that's what it kind of sticks out to me in my mind. So I wanted to get that out of the way because I know there's going to be a lot of football talk tonight. We can come back to that. But we got our first caller tonight. He's usually the first on the board. So let's go ahead and say hello to him. There he is. Mr. Kevin, what's going on, sir?
War Eagle, you think we will get KJ Bolden?
You're asking the question that Damien is asking on Facebook right now. Do you think KJ is going to flip?
Yeah,
All the momentum that continues to be built by Coach Hugh Freeze and his staff suggests that if there's the chances continue to increase on that. I have no clue. I have no connection to KJ. So your guess is as good as mine, but it's not for a lack of trying.
I think we still might get him and get Ron Williams
That's
on
another one. That'd be another one out there. So that would be six flips, right? I think, yeah, six flips,
Yeah,
major flips that Hugh Freeze will have pulled off if he pulls off those two. So that would be an incredible feat. I feel like we're getting greedy almost. So I'm going to just say, let's just get one. Like, let's count on one. Oh, we lost Kevin. There he is. Kevin, you still there, buddy?
yeah.
There you go. So yeah,
Hey,
that's what I was just saying. We'll get one or the other probably.
do you think we get a quarterback in the transfer?
I am not focusing on that, to be honest with you. I know that's instantly like makes people tune out when I say that, but we've got very serviceable quarterbacks here at Auburn. If we get one that's great, they're not a guaranteed starter in my mind. If they come here, they got to beat out Peyton Thorne, Holden Garner, Robbie, whoever stays over.
I hope.
But
I hope,
maybe.
I hope Robbie stays.
I hope so as well. He definitely has connected with the Auburn fan base in a very special way, helping us get through some rough times. And when players do that and stick out, they kind of endear themselves forever to the Auburn family. So I'd love to see him stay in whatever capacity.
I think we have a announcement coming on Monday.
On Monday, who do you think that's going to be?
Saraland's Ron Williams. He
Why?
will flip. He will flip from Bama to Auburn.
Maybe so. And listen, from what I've read on social media, he loves to play the recruiting game.
Yeah,
So while I'm not dismissing it and saying it's not a higher possibility than ever these days, the way Hugh Freeze is going, I just wouldn't get your hopes up about that because a lot of times these kids kind of thrive off the power they get from making men older than them like feverishly wait on their announcements. So I wouldn't just bank on it.
We got Cam Coleman.
We did get Cam Coleman. So look, even if Auburn never got another one, they got their centerpiece for their class. It's the highest ranked wide receiver recruit ever for them. So we're doing pretty good.
How about the running backs?
What about them? Give me some specifics you want to know about.
Are they coming back?
As far as I know, it doesn't seem like Jarquez has announced anything, and he would be the highest candidate. Now, obviously, transfer portal, there's monkey ridges in that, and we'll see what happens.
How come Tyler Fromm is transferring?
Well, you tell me. He's a guy with a lot of time spent here at Auburn. I wonder if he's a graduate by now. He has to have been. But you have an extra year to make something of your career, especially if you kind of want to have a last swing at things, maybe towards playing professional ball. And that room is pretty crowded still.
I think he could withdraw his name.
Oh yeah, obviously we've seen that done before at other places and at Auburn. But to me, it strikes me as a situation where he's looking for that last swing at the college football landscape and see what he can get out of it.
But DeMarcus Carter,
DeAndre Carter? You talking about DeAndre?
He closed his recruitment down.
I will tell you this, Kevin, as I try to tell everybody, there is no such thing as an official closed down recruitment. There is no such thing as a sure thing until they are signed and on campus, enrolled in classes, technically past that drop date that the classes have where you can still drop out of classes. So it's never a sure thing.
Is 2 weeks from today is signing day?
That sounds right. Honestly, I probably should know that, but that's not how disconnected I've been from the recruiting landscape over the last several months.
I hope our basketball team beat Indiana Saturday.
I hope so as well. I will not be able to attend that game, but I was hoping to give you guys a little bit of perspectives from there. But fortunately, not going to happen this year as much as I love going to those Atlanta games. I got time for one more question. What you got?
I think Jalen Simpson might be back.
I hope so. He hasn't announced anything yet, and we definitely could use some leadership in that room as we transition to a new era under them. So I would love that.
I call back next Wednesday if we got some more commitments.
I love it. We'll talk to you then. All right, buddy?
War Eagle, bye.
All right, War Eagle. Talk to you later. Good to hear from Kevin, as always. He is very excited about the recruiting. I'm sure many of you are out there. And we'll see. Confirmed by Corey here. Signing day is the 20th. So we will wait eagerly to see what decisions are made on the 20th in the transfer portal. I said this. I don't know if it was last Wednesday night's live stream, but recently I do miss the old days of where February was the exciting day in signing, because it was kind of like something to look forward to in a very like boring month. Like February to me is like the worst month of the year, just because of how short it is. It's weird. You got to do the Valentine's Day thing in the middle of it. And let's be honest, it's usually just more of a hassle. I'm going to be honest, than anything else. So, and it's like, you're almost to March Madness, but you're not quite there yet. So it was something to look forward to at the beginning of February, and it still happens, but a lot of that steam has been taken away by the early signing period. Just a small gripe for me. Corey, a pondering question. If Ashford stays, what position would he play? Because I don't see him at quarterback anymore. Well, that's his decision. And just because we don't see him at quarterback, or I'm not saying I do, but anybody sees him at quarterback, doesn't mean that they're not going to still do that. I would strongly encourage, whether it's Robbie or someone else, that if you're pursuing something that just doesn't seem like it's going to become reality, you might want to give something else a shot, even if it's going to another school. But I would much prefer our guys stay with us for the entire time, because that's just how much I love them. By the way, I didn't mention this. Our call-in link is brought to you by our friends at allthingsauburn.net. Please check them out, especially if you're coming to Auburn. They are great at setting up you up with some accommodations if you want to come visit the loveliest village on the plains. But it's not just about staying there. It's about having an experience. Miss Tanya is good at doing that. So allthingsauburn.net. Check them out. They bring you the call link every single week. So yeah, call in if you'd like. I have a feeling we're going to have some slow days here as we kind of get closer and closer to signing day. Those are going to be as soon as we start getting some of the things that people really want to talk about there. Bubba and the old man, based off of what he said in the past, I seriously doubt he changes positions. Talking about Robbie, he's likely transferring in the summer post-graduation. Is he already ready to graduate? My goodness. Well, let's think. He's done 2 years at Auburn. He did at least a year at Oregon. I don't know what his time frame and timeline was there. It's been done before in 3-ish years. So I guess he could graduate. And listen, if you're going to leave Auburn, leave as a graduate. And that's not me knocking people that leave as non-graduates, but it's my whole issue, but my whole thing about why people shouldn't be all upset at Bo Nix for leaving. He left as a graduate. He's an Auburn Tiger for life now, whether you want him to be or not. So same thing for Robbie. If he leaves as a graduate, mad respect for him. Mad respect. He came in 2020. The COVID year is crazy. No, he came in. The timeline's crazy. It is. Corey says, I was just wondering if he would swap out like Cody Burns did when we got Cam. Just a thought. Yeah, and I think Cody is the shining example. Y'all know how much, if you've been here for a while, you know how much I love Cody Burns. I have a man crush on Cody Burns. I really miss him being part of our program as a coach too. Cody Burns is the shining example of what it means to be an Auburn man. If you haven't, you can look it up on YouTube, his speech that he gave to his team when Chris Todd was named the starter and he lost the job to Chris Todd. And he still played quarterback some, but he really made the transition and successful transition to wide receiver when Cam got there. It's a possibility. I just kind of like, I guess Bubba, I don't know which one this is, Bubba or the old man. Bubba was saying earlier, he probably, and strikes me as someone who wants to play quarterback and would probably, he can't do it here, wants to go somewhere else to do that. I just hope he does it as a graduate. That's a cool thing to do in terms of how you leave a program and how you go about taking advantage of other opportunities. So I'm going to hope that he continues to do that. There's a lot of other players out there that have got to make decisions. Tyler Fromm today being the 7th, unless there was an 8th one I wasn't aware of. It always feels like I check out kind of from social media and stuff for like the few hours before, unless it's just crazy stuff going on all day before we do these live shows. And typically something big happens or I missed it and we're coming to the live show and everybody's like, "What, did you see that?" And I'm like, well, honestly, no, because I've been checked out for the last 2 or 3 hours just trying to take a break from the workday. If you haven't, you can't really tell. And I'm actually going to bring out wide here. So you can tell a little bit better in this shot. The Christmas lights are up on this side of me. And if you can kind of this way, God, it's so the mirror, you can tell there's a Santa, but covering it up with my finger, Santa Auburn thing. And there's this like Auburn Christmas truck thing behind me by the Santa. I don't love it the way it looks on the camera, especially when we go out wide to this shot. So we may have to adjust that so you guys can see the Christmas lights a little bit better. But here, it looks good. It looks fine. But the other way, it's kind of like, not as Christmassy as I'd love for it to be, because I am all about Christmas here. If y'all could see my front yard right now, you'd be impressed or disgusted, one of the two. One thing people need to know is this: Robbie loves Auburn. It's going to be a tough decision for him. He's a great kid, and we should wish him the best. Absolutely. When it's kind of the same situation when Bo left, and I'm going to keep bringing that up as much as it irks some of you all to for me to mention his name. Same thing there. If you leave Auburn on good terms, especially if you leave as a graduate too, that just is like extra bonus points. We wish you well until it affects Auburn, meaning like if you have to play us, beat us, whatever, then all the bets are off at that point. I in my ideal world, everybody signs with Auburn. Everybody, stays their full 4 or 5 years. They're allotted 6 maybe these days with COVID years. Hopefully that's done soon. And we all just are graduates at the end of the day. Those meaning that are able to go to Auburn. We shall see. Corey, man, I am praying we get some O-line through signing day instead of the portal. Don't really want a year's worth of flash in the pan. Kind of my point I've always said, Corey, about just the transfers even before the portal and transfer portal stuff. They can really quickly help you in some areas of need if you get the right ones. They also just as quickly leave, and they are Band-Aids which reveal, once they have been slapped on and pulled off as quickly, open wounds that never quite healed. To me, I agree with you that I'd like for us to continue to put our focus as much as possible into building the foundation as opposed to patchwork. And that's not a knock on like the guys we brought in this last cycle transfer portal and who we'll bring in this year. But a lot of the times, as you said, you invest time and energy in these guys, which is great. And a lot of these become great Auburn men and the women in the women's sports, but they're gone just as quick. And it doesn't sometimes feel as special. Not always the case. Elijah McAllister is a great example of that. He really just dove headfirst into becoming an Auburn man and really become one of my favorite players that we've had even in a 1-year stint. Big Simp checking in from work. Stay, I guess, safe over there. Don't get caught or anything like that. We're glad you're watching. The portal, as far as wide receivers, didn't work out for us this year. Did Shepard already sign? Will Shepard? Where did he go? Or is he like eliminated us? Will Shepard news. To enter the transfer portal. To me, that's your kind of shining, one that you want, to be honest, personally. But I think if there's someone else that we missed out on, let me know. Oh, you're talking about, I see, this year. You're saying didn't work out for us this year. The ones that we brought in last year, this year. I thought you were talking about the portal for wide receivers this upcoming cycle. I read that wrong. Forgive me. Josh on Facebook, good to see you. Yeah, I just now caught on to that. Duh. Joshua says, why isn't there any word on Auburn going after one of the big quarterbacks that hit the portal? Well, first of all, Josh, I would say to you, why do you think just because you or I haven't heard anything, that doesn't mean that there's something going on? We're not entitled to information. Sometimes things have to happen kind of slowly and in the background. The other thing I would point out is we don't necessarily have to have a stud quarterback like from the portal. We may already have one we're developing here. I don't know. I know it's kind of the wet blanket every time someone brings up the quarterback topic, and I throw that on there, but I'm really trying to kind of hammer this in because I don't see anybody else talking about this enough. We put, especially, I think all of us in college football, but us as Auburn fans, put way too much emphasis on transfer quarterbacks. If they were as good as they were more often than not, we wouldn't be in some of the situations that we're in. Just an opinion. May not like it, but we'll see. I am all for it. If somebody wants to be here, compete against who is here and beat them out and show that they're the best one, bring them on in is what I say. How do we feel about playing Maryland? I'm kind of excited about it. I'll be honest with you. We, anytime we play someone in the ACC, it feels like it's Clemson. So playing someone different there is great. Not playing Northwestern, not playing Wisconsin or another big, well, I guess this is a Big Ten. How stupid it is. I said an ACC team earlier. How stupid is it that Maryland's in the Big Ten? Can we just all like agree on that? How stupid is that? I even had a Freudian slip there that say that they were an ACC team still. They are an ACC team. They do not belong in the Big Ten. So how do I feel about it? I feel about that we should be playing an ACC team, not a Big Ten team. All that to be said, I'm glad we're playing someone different. I think it'll be a cool uniform dynamic, our stormtrooper look, their monstrosity of they draped their flag over them basically on the helmet and the shoulder pads and stuff. And there's some Auburn, Alabama ties there too that kind of make things a little bit, interesting. We shall see. All right, we got a lot of good questions and comments coming in here. I'm glad a lot of you agree with me on that. I'm glad I didn't go on a rant and everybody's like, what's his deal? Why is he so messed up about it? Big Simp, can't wait to see Thorne progress. I think he'll be better in year 2. Oh, well, it's not a guarantee, but you got to think and remember the context of this. This guy came in at the end of the summer, not the beginning of the summer, not the middle of the summer, the end of the summer, and had to install, and he still beat out everybody that was here. And as the year went on, we learned that he was the best option that we had as a quarterback in all aspects, throwing and running. Now, Robbie's a better running quarterback than him, but the margin of difference there was not as stark as some people assumed it was. And I was warned of that by some other prominent people in the college football space that I make an appearance on their show from time to time. And I take what they say and believe it. But even I was like, are you sure about this? And then I saw it happen. So year 2 for him could be very, very fruitful if he wins the job. Nothing's guaranteed for anybody. Kind of like I was talking about here. What's your opinion on Thorne in year 2? I think unless it's Riley Leonard, but it sounds like he's going to Notre Dame or caliber guy. I don't know. He's got a lot of experience that is hard to match with athleticism. And I think a year extra under Hugh Freeze could see some big things there. Corey says he would rather us not go after a quarterback in the portal. I'd rather see us spread the NIL cheese in other positions. Yeah. Junior college quarterbacks, that one time it worked out was great. It's pretty great, but I wouldn't put your hopes in that. All right. Let's see here. Had some pretty good luck with transfer quarterbacks. Yeah, that was pretty good. All right, let's do this. Let me take another caller, and then we will continue to move forward with your comments, questions, and derogatory rebuttals. So here we go. Our next caller up, Mr. Thomas Manville. What's going on, sir?
How y'all doing this evening?
War Eagle, sir. How you been?
War Eagle to y'all, man. I've been good. A lot of changes. Got a new place I'm staying in now, so it's been good. Been good. Thanks for coming up.
You are very well lit behind you too. Like that's nice. I mean, it's like you got a little like halo around you or something like that.
That's the old fluorescence, I reckon. But yeah, well, if you ever saw me call in before, you knew lighting was the bane of my existence in the old basement, so it was terrible.
Yeah. Listen, if you saw the lighting setup in here and how I've tried to get it worked over the years, I mean, it's. I don't say this like it's first world problems, right? But people don't understand the things that you have to do sometimes to like. This room has changed. Some of y'all have seen it. I used to be over, and I'm pointing this direction. I can't. I used to be facing that or turned around that way. It's just lighting's tough, man. So I understand. But what's on your mind in terms of Auburn stuff?
Man, what a year! First year for Coach Hugh Freeze. It didn't. It may have gone the way that some of us thought it was going to go, but a lot of us thought it may have gone a little bit differently, being better or worse. Just depends on the person and what they're feeling. But we still got an opportunity to get one more win this year, and my expectations were two things. It was either beat Alabama, Georgia, or LSU. We didn't hit that one, and that's all right. There's all kinds of problems going on this year. We get it. But my other is seven wins meets my expectations and 8 exceeds it. And we got an opportunity to get that 7th win, which is huge. We're playing, we're not playing a huge prestigious bowl game with two great teams, but we got an opportunity for a win. We got to take it.
Yeah, it's a Power 5. It's a Power 5 win.
We got to get it, especially after New Mexico State. When I sat up, I was the very last row in the upper deck.
I thought about you there, and I was like, this is the game he chose to come to. It was also the game that I would have been there if I could have, but I was not able to attend. And I just sat there thinking on the couch. I was like, I'm glad I got $10 for that ticket. So I tried to give the ticket away. I'm just gonna be honest. I tried to give it away. Nobody could take it, but I was like, well, I'll put it up on I keep someone to say StubHub, the SeatGeek thing. By the way, if anybody tries to use that thing, it's really easy. How to sell your ticket on there. Obviously, you probably can't make as much on that, but in case anybody wants to know, it's very easy to do, doing it through the Auburn ticket office through SeatGeek and all that stuff. So I felt really bad for you though, because I knew you try to come to at least one a year, and if that's the one, that's tough, man.
Yep. Should have picked a different one, but there it went.
You would think you could pick a game like New Mexico State, and even if it's a little bit bad and rough, we're going to eventually pull away. And I remember it was about 3 minutes left in the third quarter, and I looked around in the room and I said, if we don't score here, I don't think we're going to win this game. And everybody looked at me like, you're just being pessimistic right now. I was like, well, y'all believe me if you want, but I don't like the way this thing's trending. And here we go.
It was apparent from kickoff how bad it was going to be. And just if anybody had questions about that fumble towards the end of the game, I heard the whistle from the very last row of the upper deck before that ball come out. So I heard the whistle from the field.
Yeah.
So it was the right call. Unfortunately, it sucks because we didn't have anything going for us that day, but that's the way the cookie crumbled, I guess.
Yeah, it sucks sometimes, and it's definitely a black eye on the year that is this, and where there was a lot of what ifs. I think it's interesting this year. If you look at the year, there's one game where Auburn was truly out of it, and that was the LSU game. From the start, had no business even being there, to be honest with you. The Texas A&M game, it's kind of, the score is deceptive of how close it was going into the fourth quarter. It kind of fell apart there at the end. But really, it's just the LSU game. Yeah, the New Mexico State game's horrible when you look at it. But, I mean, that one, you just kind of like chalk that up to just weird stuff. And I'm not making an excuse, because we let them walk in there and beat us. Or they did what they needed to do to beat us too. It's congratulations to them too. But you just kind of throw your hands up and go like, I mean, I don't know what to do with that. It's like the Lamo loss for Alabama all those years ago.
or App State and Michigan. You know, football's a game that it's beautiful because anybody can win at any time. You can never count somebody completely out. Crazier things have happened. If you've watched a lot of football, you've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the game. But I made an analogy after that game to another football group that I follow with, and everybody was kind of griping and moaning and belly aching about the New Mexico State game. And then we came out and how we played against Alabama. But just because you get hit don't mean you quit swinging. And that's exactly what they did. And I mean, they played the Iron Bowl, as much as it hurt, and it still stings a little bit, that was a great game. I mean, Auburn, we came out there and we went to work on the best team in the country. You know, I won't get into the playoff stuff, but they're one of the top programs in the country and have been consistently. And we went out there and we swung with them all the way to the end of the last bell. Yep. We gave everything we had, and I'm so proud of the way they played that game, even though we lost. I don't believe in moral victories, but I believe that was a huge step in the right direction for what not the seniors that are leaving, but who's still here and who's going to be here next year. And it really, really, really helps with recruiting. Those recruits down on the sidelines that watched that game and heard that crowd and were there for that environment, that's huge. That's magic.
Yeah, as someone who was there in the middle of all that madness, it was a beautiful thing to see. Everybody jumping, hollering, hooping, all the way. You know, you could see in every reasonable Alabama fan that was there is like they're like, oh my gosh, I wish we had something like this. And you have more people too. So what does that say? You know, like it gets pretty hype in Jordan-Hare. And so when you combine opportunity, energy, history, historical, success as a program, that's a nice combination for Hugh Freeze to be working with, and he's already paying that off on the recruiting trail. We'll see what happens with the transfer portal. It's a lot of things to be excited about coming up here for the team.
Absolutely. So what position group are you most excited for next year? Even factor in who leaves, who comes in, or if people come in, what are you the most excited for?
Given what I know currently, meaning people may not made decisions to go to draft, transfer, otherwise, frankly, linebacker. Eugene Asante, man, burst onto the scene. If he stays for another year and replicates what he did, you're looking at one of Auburn's best linebacker prospects going into the draft in quite some time. I mean, we've talked about us being DBU, having a case for that over the past decade. It'd be nice to kind of throw a really good linebacker up there in the draft. That would be definitely a spot. It's the easy answer, running back, if everybody returns, because we saw what the skill set that they all have. Combine that with, please, continually getting better offensive line. That could be another exciting group. I'll flip it over. What do you think?
I agree with you on the linebackers, and especially Asante, because when he first got here, now he played running back when he was recruited as a running back and then transitioned to linebacker. Came from North Carolina, came to Auburn. We didn't see much of him, didn't see much from him really, and then all of a sudden the switch flipped, and I think that's coaching staff. So I think we're headed in the right direction especially on the defensive side of the ball. But when it comes to offense, I want to see the quarterback room stay with what it has and who's coming in, and that develop. I want to see how well they can develop who's there, because they didn't have a huge amount of time. They only had a couple of months, but realistically, it's the offensive line, man. Connor Lew, that kid is special. He is habitually escorting people out of the club, and that's what you have to do as a lineman. He's got great technique. He can polish on a few things, but, I mean, he's a freshman in the SEC, and he's out there just toting folks.
Yeah.
And Dylan Cinda coming up, and I really think that kid's special. I think he's got a good base. I think his balance is good, which is essential. You can't be out there just wobbling around. You're going to get thrown around like a rag doll. It's going to be terrible, like we've seen in the past. But transfer-wise, man, there's some dogs out there in the portal. In the Discord this morning, I said Scott. I think it's Jerquan Scott.
Yep, Jerquan Scott. Yeah.
Yeah, from Southern Miss. He's 6'4", 330. He's played in a lot of games, and he's played at guard. And we're going to need guards. We're going to need tackles too, because we shuffled tackles and guards and people into different positions. The kid out of Indiana, I can't remember his name right now, but he really interests me. And he's from Tennessee, so he'd be coming a whole lot closer to home.
Yep.
He's from Cordova, Tennessee. He's big kid, rangy, played in a lot of games. And I don't want to have a plug-and-play O-line until we get these freshmen coming in that we've got signed, the DeAndre Carters and all that. Mm-hmm. We're going to have to put a Band-Aid on some spots, man. I mean, if the pipe's leaking, you got to do something about it. You can't just wait.
Yeah. Last year was a year where you had to take a chance of basically buying an entire new offensive line. Now, that doesn't mean that they all started, which we eventually saw, because, Jeremiah Wright still played. Several others still got the opportunity to play a lot of time that were still here.
Yeah.
But you've got what I think, whether they start their depth pieces or ever, you got a really nice group of Connor Liu, Clay Wooden, Tyler Johnson, Dylan Cinda, and I'm forgetting one here off the top of my head. Braden Joyner. You've got this special group, and then DeAndre Carter coming up behind him, as well in this next class. You've got what I think is going to be a good foundation. And so one more year of giving those guys opportunities like a Connor Liu, but also instead of buying a new offensive line, you find those pieces that you really need. Gunnar Britton, was a great get for us this year, and he's going to be gone now. So you need someone to fill that solid role that he filled. So yes, it is a Band-Aid situation as opposed to a complete, let's amputate and give you a prosthetic to use it. It's a very, I guess, interesting analogy there. But hopefully this is the last year where we're really seeing a lot of those offensive linemen transfer portals. Not because I don't want them. I want anybody who wants to be here, but because I'd rather see us build up from the ground up.
Yeah, and we've still got some other guys that are left over from this year's line. I believe you still got Muskrat and Xavier Miller, and Avery. I think the center, Avery Jones, is gone. And then we had Dylan Wade. I believe he's still eligible to come back.
I think he does, yes.
I could honestly see Dylan Wade because he's measured at 6'4". There's some people say he's closer to 6'2". That he's playing tackle in the SEC, which is a tall task in and of itself. But
right.
I don't have anything to do with the program, but I'd love to see him slide down the guard. I think he's a dog. He really is. But we've got pieces there, and we just need to Band-Aid 2 or 3 more things, maybe. We need to be able to rotate.
To kind of round out our conversation there, I pulled up this, again, take it with a grain of salt. This site I used was pretty good, though. Here's your Gunnar Britton is a redshirt senior, so he's done with a transfer. Avery Jones is a redshirt senior with a transfer. He's done. Cam Stutz is done as a redshirt senior with us, effectively. I don't know where his COVID stance is, but Xavier Miller technically would have another year. Jaden Wood, Jeremiah Wood, Tate Johnson, and Jaden Muskrat. So you're really at risk of losing about four guys. So whether we fill all of those 4 in the transfer portal, we'll find out, but you can definitely expect some of them to be filled up there.
And Bubba, old man, thank you for that update. The 6'2.5". Yeah, thank you. I think he's listed at 6'3", 6'4", but clearly it's not exactly right.
Let me explain something to you. I can attest as a former college basketball player for 1 year. I was listed height-wise and weight-wise far beyond what I was. And all you had to do was look at the team picture and see how the jersey hung off me. Let me put it to this way. I came in the locker room where we're getting our shoes for the year ordered. The coach walks up to me. All right, Loomis, what's your shoe size you need? And I go, I can do a 12. He goes, well, these only go to a 13. So I had a size 13 that I wore all year, had to wear real thick socks. And then they, took the jersey sizes too. And I mean, they got me the smallest one, just fall off. So I was listed as, I think, 6'1", 170 pounds. I was all of 150, 6 foot, 5'11" at that time. So anyway, just to let you know.
I feel you on that one. They did me the same way when I played in high school. I was like, buddy, there ain't no way I'm that tall. They're gonna know this as soon as they see me. You're setting me up.
Exactly. You just gotta let them think that you're that big or that tall or that fast or whatever. But anyway,
you got to play that.
Got to play it up as much as you can. Thomas, it's always good to talk to you, my friend, and thank you for hanging out with us tonight.
Absolutely. War Eagle, y'all have a good evening.
War Eagle, thanks again. All right, folks, you can call in too. Don't be shy. The link is at the top of the YouTube. If you'd like to do that, you can be on camera like Thomas was, or you can be just your voice. It'll just put your name up there. You get to choose all that. I know calling in is intimidating sometimes just because I've tried it on other shows before too, before I started doing my own. And it's like, why am I so nervous about this? Don't be nervous. Come on in, hang out a while. They got Kaufman listed at 5'11", and we know that dude is 5'8". Love that kid. Absolute dog. It's not about the dog in the fight. It's about the fight and the dog, right? We've learned that several times. And it would be interesting to take the list of measurables for all these players and actually go up to them as like, all right, I got a scale and I got to, tape measure or whatever. We're going to check and see how legit this is. We're not going to tell anybody. We just want to know how much it was embellished upon. Because as I said, for a fact, we did it for me. Not that they needed to as a walk-on who didn't play, but I guess it made the roster look better. What does that say about you, that you were holding the roster back with your size, your weight, and your height? Anyway, a great transition. Great B-ball this weekend versus Indiana, Alabama, and Purdue. Alabama has no big man. That's going to be hilarious. I haven't even paid attention to Alabama, how they're doing. Really anybody outside of some of the big teams like the Kansases. And my sister-in-law is a huge Kansas. She's an Auburn fan, but she's mainly a Kansas basketball fan. So I kind of keep up with them by proxy. I am very disappointed that I won't be able to be there this year for the Holiday Hoops Giving Classic in Atlanta. It's not far from where I live, and it's always an expensive ticket, but it's usually worth it, especially if you at least stay for if you're the first game, the second game, or if you're the second game to come for a little bit of the first, because you get 2 game sessions with that. So if you can come this weekend, do it. Like, come on over to Atlanta. Even if you don't want to stay the night, the game starts at 2:00 here. So we'll watch the game. I'll watch the game and we'll do a post-game stream, but it's just not going to, it's one of those years and some things aren't going to get done, and I'm disappointed that I won't be there versus Indiana. Historic program, good coach. It's just going to be, I hate I'm not going to be there for it. I was worried for a little bit, to be honest with you, not for any inside source that I had, that Indiana, when they were changing coaches recently, was going to come get Bruce Pearl. I think it made a lot of sense if they wanted him. But thankfully, they couldn't get him. But hope you guys can come to Atlanta, watch it, or at least watch the game. It's going to be fun. Bama's 6-2 for the season so far. Not a bad start. I knew they were in the top 25, or at least close to the top 25 in most of the polls. But yeah, just for informational purposes, let's look up Holiday Hoops Giving 2023 and look at the other games that you've got going on this year. Auburn versus Indiana, and then that's it. Normally it's about 2 other teams, I think, but I guess I'm wrong. Tulane versus Mississippi State. That's it? That's all they've got this year? Did they have cancellations? Oh man, that sucks. Yeah, Auburn and Indiana are the marquee game this year. Tulane versus Mississippi State is not gonna draw the crowd that you're hoping for. But I probably would have at least stayed to see how Mississippi State looks this year. Normally they get a bigger draw than it's usually a 2-day event where they do 2 games on one day and 2 games on the next, or they smash them into the early morning, have about a 2-hour break to clear everything, and then let the next session in. That's kind of sad. Thomas, you're too kind. Thank you so much for the super chat. Very much appreciated, helping keep the lights on here, and you are too kind and too generous. Thank you, sir. But yeah, it's I'm sad I won't be there, but at least the second game isn't something to be super excited about. I thought they were in somebody's rankings. Maybe it was the net rankings or something like that, but I know it's going to be a good matchup when you see them with a lot of energy, a lot of energy. We're this close to be able to celebrate the ODK trophy at the halftime of the Iron Bowl of basketball this year. It'll be back sooner rather than later, that's just not this season. How do you all feel about the basketball team? We can come back and talk about football, but since we're on the subject, how's everybody feel about the team? How do you feel about what you've seen so far? I know the Appalachian State game was frustrating, but for those of you that follow college basketball more than the average person, you should be able to tell it was a pretty good App State team. At least it seems like it right now. Not just because they beat us, but the way they played. We might be seeing them in the tournament in terms of, I don't say we'll play them again, but you'll be there. They'll be there to talk about. Aden's recent struggles have me concerned. I would stress to not be concerned. He's a freshman. Not all freshman phenoms are created equal. And we saw flashes of what he is expected to be. And he'll get it back. It's just a matter of time. We put a lot of pressure on these kids. We as Auburn fans, I know other schools do it too, but we tend to find our phenoms and we put so much pressure on them. Jabari ruined us. Cam ruined us. Aden will get there. Give him a little bit of time. Put KD on a leash. High energy we need and don't need. You can't put KD on a leash, though. Like, if you put KD on a leash, you ruin the yes of the yes, no part of him. Like, he is truly an enigma, a psycho. And I'm just thankful he's our psycho. You just got to know when he runs out there, there's a 50-50 chance it'll be good or bad. But, well, it's really, I'd say it's more of a 60-40 chance. I'll take those odds with the energy and the type of player and the way he can affect a game, especially against the other team. Too early in the season for me to assess the team yet. New players take time to get acclimated. I'm going to wait till the conference play to decide anything. I think that's fair. I haven't even analyzed the conference schedule yet all that much, but we'll probably need a few games into conference play too to see what it really looks like, because non-conference records for all the SEC teams can be a little bit confusing sometimes. You'll see a really good non-conference record from one team and then they get in the SEC play and then they struggle, or someone who struggled in non-conference and then they just run to the SEC. We shall see. Shot selection for him is the issue. He's a baller, though. Yeah, that last shot he took in the game, I was like, that's a guy who's used to being the guy trying to figure out his role in the team. And I'm okay with it for right now. A human microwave. That's pretty good. Who will be the standout player for this season basketball, in my opinion? Well, I mean, the obvious answer is Janai Broom. So if you want me to take Janai off there, this would be Chad Baker-Mazara. Chad Baker-Mazara, it's going to sound weird when I say it this way, but to me, his build strikes me of these players that you see a lot on the Kansases, the Kentuckys, that don't fit into a mold. Like, they're a guard, but they're too big to be a guard. They're too athletic to be a big man, but they've got the length to do that. He's got a little bit of a KD energy about him too. He's just got a good combo of things that I really think will have us at the end of the year going, yeah, Janai was our guy. Aden's our little phenom. Chad Baker-Mazara is probably going to be your X factor. 3D wing, yeah. Bronny James expected to make his debut earlier this week or on the 17th when we play him. Well, he will not be fresh then, so that's a good thing. But at least we'll have maybe, I don't know what the NBA schedule is, but maybe his Royalness or whatever his name is now will make an appearance to watch his son. Probably something I should look up and see if that correlates with anything. Linda, you are a little late, but better late than never. Thanks for coming to hang out with us a little bit. Good to see you as always. We have talked a little bit about everything, a lot of recruiting and transfer talk. We talked about kind of the end of the season. We spent a lot of time discussing New Mexico State with Thomas, which I didn't mean to take it that way, but we hadn't been able to commiserate about that together. So, yeah, I hate when I'm not able to do a show and it aligns with something like that, like a devastating loss, because then it looks like you're just being petty and don't want to talk about it. And I was like, well, I don't want to, but I would if I could have at that time. Neil, where you been, buddy? Have you been in the background or just getting here? We talked a little bit about that already. It doesn't seem like there's anything solid out there to get super excited about. I'm kind of hopeful that we'll be able to show Will Shepard, the wide receiver from Vandy. They always do a good job of finding a little phenom for some reason. What we did with Elijah McAllister, hopefully they know each other well. That can kind of build a bridge over here, and he can kind of sell Auburn because he's really bought into it. And I think he could be a nice. What have we talked about on the wide receiver room? What's it been lacking other than somebody, the talent showing up? They needed a leader. It worked once with Elijah McAllister. It's a different position, different time, different space, but I think it could work really well. So to me, I'm really focusing on that as like a must get if you can, and everything else is just gravy at this point. Are we 100% healthy on the football side? I don't think so. We had some pretty banged up people all year, so I bet everybody. It'll be a month and a week since the Iron Bowl to the bowl game. Maybe we'll be 100% by then of those who want to play. Yep, just talked about that today on social media. UGA's 2024 football schedule was just released, much harder than last year. We will be playing them on the 5th, which that shouldn't shock you. That's kind of where they've been putting the Auburn Georgia game as of late. That first week of October, last week of September, really spreading out from the Iron Bowl. Apparently, there was some interactions on social media I saw on our post that some people are assuming that the Iron Bowl is not going to be the last game of the year. Folks, the Iron Bowl is not moving. Like that's not happening. It's just like they put Texas A&M as the last game of the year for them because of their rivalry. That's not happening. That's not going anywhere. It just confused me to know when I think we gave him a gift and said, "What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Willis?" It's not going anywhere. Georgia is fair game to leave or to be moved around, but I'm happy that it's kind of where it is. Enough time has passed in the season to get your footing, but not close enough to the Alabama game. LSU for Shepard, they got deep pockets. Yeah, I haven't really looked to see who is his highest propensity to get him, but he's the only one that came up in the big names that I was like, oh, I like that one. Everybody else was like, well, if it happens, it happens. But I was like, I'd be really excited about that one. And I don't really typically get super excited about wide receivers, but there's something. Elijah McAllister, as much as I am a fan of him, has really sold me on Vandy transfers. So they're smart, right? That's the stereotype. So bring them on in. Good leadership, maybe too. Elijah was that. I think that wide receiver room could utilize that a little bit. That's how I feel about it, at least. Back on this real quick. I think everybody's going to assume that this means that Auburn's schedule will get released soon. Maybe, but maybe not. Because, let me look at this. Auburn FBS schedule. FBSschedules.com usually has a good job of keeping track of these things. Let's see if they've got all of our non-conference listed. So we've got Cal, New Mexico State was the second game. They've already moved the Georgia game up. ULM Warhawks is going to be 2 weekends before the Alabama game. So there's going to be an SEC game butting up against the Iron Bowl. That'll be interesting. Unless they move another rinky-dink non-conference game in there. So we are missing one non-conference opponent for that season. I would imagine there are negotiations happening. So just because Georgia's came out doesn't mean ours is necessarily ready. I hope it is, because I want to talk about it. We shall see. What did I think about losing Fromm? We talked about this a little bit earlier. I think this is one of those cases where he deserves an opportunity to find where he can be utilized more. It was a very filled up room with talent coming in to fill that need. He stayed at Auburn probably longer than a lot of people thought he would, given where his brother had success. And I've enjoyed having him. I'm sad to see him go, but I also wish him success too. I wonder, and I'm not sure if he's a graduate or not, but I hope he is. 2 bye weeks now? No. I think that is going to be either an SEC team, or maybe they'll have 2. Maybe they're going to give us 2 rinky dinks to finish out Jordan-Hare's schedule, since the Iron Bowls in Tuscaloosa last year. I hope it's actually a half decent SEC game. In fact, let's play speculation. Let's play a little game, folks. Oklahoma. I don't want that to be the second to last game of the year. Maybe it would be fun. We're going to be at Kentucky, at Missouri. We have, Vanderbilt. Texas A&M sometimes gets stuffed at the end of the year, but either Arkansas or Vanderbilt are going to be those. It's going to get stuffed in there. Probably they're going to push for Vandy, I bet. I don't know if Vandy's picked their schedule. You know what? Let's just we're doing investigation live on the air here. Vandy 2024 schedule. Let's see if they've got anything lined up yet. No, they have less than Auburn lined up. Ooh, if you just look at Vandy's schedule, sometimes it'll just make you cry for them. They're playing SMU and Virginia Tech next year. That's tough, man. That's real tough. Hopefully we'll have it soon. Big Simp. Glad for the 12-team playoff, even though the turds deserve to get in. I disagree that they deserve to get in, because isn't that the whole point that they're trying to make about Florida State, that it's not about who deserves to get in? I think they deserve to be in an 8-team playoff, not in a 4-team playoff. Yeah. Call me petty, but I don't think they deserve to be there. Committee was hoping Louisville would take care of the problem. Bama should have been at least top 5 long ago. Not when you can't beat the team that beat you in your place pretty decently, stayed ahead of you. That was always going to be their big problem. I miss having UJ and Bama in a 3-week span. I do too. It always fascinated me that people hated that as much fun as it used to be. It was just the perfect bookend on the year. Was it extremely tough to do every year? Yes. But it was just perfect. November, there's something missing in November now without Georgia and Alabama knowing they're coming up. So I kind of hoped when they announced that they were moving Georgia to that slot, that kind of window that they stay in now, that Texas A&M was going to kind of fill that role, because they would be up and down a lot. They won't be an LSU or a Georgia all the time. So it was kind of like a safe bet to keep him there. And that kind of would have been an exciting thing to cap off the end of the year with Alabama, but all that's going to change now. Electricity. Kevlar rounding us out. Did you see the update on the baseball stadium renovation? Supposed to finish the first phase soon. Well, spring ball is going to be starting not too far off, folks. It starts at the end of January. So they need to get that going if they haven't. So I have not seen it, but I'll have to go look at it now. And I'm excited for the future of the baseball program. Stadium, obviously. It's going to be My hope is that in about a 2-year span, we're sitting in probably facilities wise. Well, actually, in about a 5-year span, we're sitting at about the finest facilities success rates of the big three in quite some time. I think we got a good alignment coming. Alternating the home and away, it was good. Yes, it was. Alternating it was good. I didn't mind having them. It sucked that they both were away, but when they were both home, it was awesome. All right. So we are at 1 hour. Typically, that's as long as I go, but we don't have to run off. What I will do is if you want to call the show, this is your last opportunity. Hit the button now. We'll close it down if we don't get somebody lined up here in just a second. Let me give you what to expect the rest of the week. Of course, as I mentioned, we're going to be doing a post-game stream for Indiana from the studio because I am not, as of this moment, going to the game. That will be pretty much right after the game ends, as soon as we can get everything up and running there, so don't miss that. Sunday night, the Auburn Experience, episode 59. We're going to get that one in the books. Plenty to talk about in sports, culture, and the Auburn family. Of course, stay tuned to all the social medias, the YouTubes, the TikToks, all the stuff for content from E2C Network. We are slowly getting back in gear from what has been a very challenging fall for me personally, and trying to get you guys into more of a regular what you expect from us in terms of content. Check out the links in the description for ways that you can help support us, especially this holiday season. You can buy a t-shirt. You can become a Booster Club member, not a Booster Club member, a Conquer Club member. All those different things. Check that out. We appreciate those of you that can do that. So final questions, comments, derogatory rebuttals, get them in now. We're going to close down the phone line since we had no takers for last call, but I will take last comments and questions if you have any. I would expect just filling the situation out. We'll start getting some news, either good or bad, in terms of transfer portal stuff, probably after the weekend, ending of the weekend. Kind of feels like it's going to head that way. Obviously, I'm excited about the basketball game this weekend, and I'm excited about bowl games too this year. I think there's going to be some good matchups that we can be talking about. Robbins, where you been? Is this your first comment tonight? I don't remember seeing you earlier unless I missed you, so I do apologize if you commented earlier. My final thoughts: run with the quarterbacks that we have. Men's basketball will be just fine. Good final thoughts. I like both. It's a good way to round out the show right there. All right, folks, thank you so much for hanging out with us this evening, being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Hope to see you on our post-game stream Saturday after the basketball game, Sunday at 9 Eastern time, and or all of it next Wednesday for another Auburn family live stream. I enjoyed being here with you. You guys continue to be the best little family within the Auburn family. I appreciate you so much. Till we talk to you again, War Eagle.